Maggie Ariza, Councilman Conrad Carrasco, Councilman Abel Nieto, Councilman Alex Hernandez, Councilwoman Erica Gandara, and Councilwoman Odilia Berrial, and not present is Mayor Pro Tem Roy Trevino. Okay, do vocation and pledge allegiance. Ruben, will you please?
Heavenly Father, thank you as we come together once again, as the council meets once again, Lord God, we pray for the wisdom and knowledge from on high, Father, to us then, we pray that you bless this community and the city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you go ahead and announce the form that there's a form?
There's a form.
That there's a form on that.
For the record, we do have a form. Okay. Do we have any citizens to be heard? No, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to approve minutes A, B, C, and D, and E.
I think we had one set of minutes that we put on your desk because there was some errors in the one in your file.
These are 2012.
Right.
2012 not removed.
That's right, the November 7th, 2000.
November 7th
Right.
and February 14th, 2012.
No, I think it was just the last one, right?
November, that were not in the books.
Yeah. As the months progress, I'll be bringing minutes to the council
To catch up.
to catch up on what needs to be done.
Okay.
2012. And there's a few that are going to be in 2013 as well now.
But we're closing in on it, so. The only thing we added to those minutes was the previous clerk had just left discuss and consider but not put the subject area, and all the votes and things that you looked in there were the same. We didn't change any of that. It was just adding the agenda item to relate the item to what the vote was.
Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to go ahead and approve reading the minutes as presented, except the cover of the letters. I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Conrad Carrasco to approve minutes A, B, C, D, and E. Second by Councilman Abel Nieto. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. Okay, 6, new business. A, discuss and consider ordinance.
Ma'am,
Go ahead.
we want to see if we can move up some items and come back to these, so because we got some people that got to travel back.
Okay, which items are those?
What item is the one on the ESD? H.
H. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start off with new business. H, discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-05 to approve the revised service provider contract with the Frio County Emergency Service District number 1.
Now, I know that's right there. Okay.
I gave you a status of the ESD contract on the negotiations. You can find this on your pile of papers there.
Yeah, that was given. That was the first package, separate package.
Yeah, I put that this afternoon. Is that there's a couple extra copies?
Do you have?
Okay, so on February 26th, if I'm correct reading by this, Fire Chief, Mr. Aguilar and Mr. Parsons, they agreed the coverage?
They both attended the meeting when the council wanted, after my absence on the 20th, they wanted them to show up at the meeting. They attended the meeting, and the issue was a coverage area. There wasn't no 100%, like Blasio had alluded to, or 54%. The fire chiefs tentatively agreed to 1/4 of the area. The 4 fire chiefs were there. They were getting equal shares. Everybody's getting $100,000. They agreed to more or less split up. And I think Blasio worked on that today. That's the Exhibit 8 that they were talking about. 6, some of the revisions from the last time. From September 10th, we had approved that contract, and then you went back on the 20th and repealed that resolution approving the contract. Very minor changes to it. Pearsall, number 6 there, line 12, it goes by the lines, and the contract's in your packet. City of Pearsall instead of Pearsall Volunteer Fire Department. Changed the sections. There were monthly payments of $1,750. Changed that to quarterly payments of $25,000, subject to the auditing. Changed dates to coincide with the city's fiscal year, 10/1, October 1st to September 30th, the fiscal year. Now, the contract has expired since 12/31, going back to number 1 up there. And then they provided 60 days, so the city really hasn't been with a contract with ESD since that time.
What
This
year is that?
contract, huh?
What year?
2013. Yeah, number 1 is December 31st of 2012, and then they had 60 days, and we never negotiated it.
Okay, I thought we didn't have a contract for like the last 2 years.
No, it expired there on 2013. Okay, so approving this contract goes back to October 1st of 2013. In this contract.
So we had a year that was out.
Right.
1 year?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
7 months.
Okay, I know I was speaking with Mr. Parsons. They have not made any payments to us, have they?
Well,
And how
we
long?
don't have a contract, so.
Yeah, but it's been what, 2 years or a year?
October of 24.
And my issue there was that it's true that we didn't have a contract. They did have the money, the ESD had the money. Even though we didn't have a contract, we provided the services.
So shouldn't we
You
get
know,
paid still?
Well, I felt like we should, but I don't think they wanted to do that. but-
October 2012 to December 2012, we had a contract, so they're
No,
entitled
we
to
did not.
that.
So they're in violation for not paying us.
No, they're entitled to that. We have to make a claim to them at their meeting and present it to their board.
Are they gonna pay it? Oh, you
I
haven't,
can't answer.
oh, you haven't yet made that claim.
Right. The city want to make a claim for that. That's the issue. Okay. And then after it expired, we didn't have a contract. We provided services. City's position, we should make a claim for everything. They've been providing service.
Right.
Okay. So,
Okay, so with these changes here, if I can ask Fire Chief Blasio, are those the changes in favor of y'all? Is that what y'all worked out with our city members?
We try to work out some changes. We still feel that it's still not to our liking. I appreciate the attorney going out there and helping us. But I still feel that he does not see our view the way we want to see it. And we want to ask y'all to try to get somebody that actually knows, about ESDs and try to work this out and help us as far as that.
Do you think it's like the board not working with us?
The board would not even talk to us. We asked them if we could talk to them. They at first had said yes, but when their attorney showed up, it was a no, and they let us talk to the attorney with our attorneys in there, and he would relay, and everything that came back was nothing. They wouldn't budge on anything.
Because when I'm seeing, like, I know that we're trying to part, I know that we sent Hector out there to do that. I just feel right now that if we hire somebody, which I'm for that as well, but by them, the board not looking, not even wanting to look, I think that if we hire an attorney that specializes in ESD, it could go either way. It could help us, because then they're going to say, okay, they mean business, or they can still, like they turned down our city attorney, turn us down. So we have to really look at that, because right now we have a volunteer fire department. If they're not liking this contract, we're gonna be stuck with nothing. So I know that we waited out this long. I think if we wait out a little bit longer and give it one more shot, then we can say we did our part, and we really have to look at it both ways. If you find somebody to go in there, he can say, they can even tell the ESD attorney that specializes in that field, no, or they can see it a different way and say, okay, they need business.
Mayor, if I may,
Okay,
at this 226 meeting,
okay,
both Pearsall and Mr. Parsons were there. They had two items, they raised two items on that.
okay,
Two of those, and it was, well, there were three items, because the fiscal year was backwards. They raised that one. They raised about the Exhibit A, where the fire chiefs met.
yeah, because I know we didn't even have an exhibit A in this again.
We still have it, we still have it.
Well, but that's the fire chief's deal. That's not my deal. I'm looking at the legal contract. That was the issue. And then the other one was line 303, which is section in your contract in your packet, training and certification. Paid employees is a statute. If you have paid firefighters, they have to be certified. I mean, that's a statute. Those were the issues that were raised. What else? I mean, I was there with Steve, I was there with Basino, and we met with Mr. Wilson, and those were the issues that we discussed. Okay? The only thing that was outstanding was Exhibit A.
Excuse me, let me raise the time real quick.
Okay.
Can you,
Sure, Robert Wilson, I'm
introduce
the,
yourself, please?
yeah, I'm Robert Wilson, I'm the attorney for the ESD,
Okay.
and I've been negotiating this contract with Hector, Mr. Villano, for several months now, and there's been several concessions made by the ESD on this contract. In fact, when I sat down with Mr. Lozano and the two gentlemen in the back and went through every issue line by line, and the ESD conceded. There's one issue that we could not concede on, and that's regards to the certifications for paid firefighters. Firefighters are required to have certain certifications if they're going to be paid. I cannot concede that because it's not, you can't do it legally.
That's line 303.
We don't have any paid firefighters.
No.
We don't have any paid
They were
firefighters.
asking to use ESD funds to be paid.
Oh,
And if they're paid, then they have to be certified.
We asked if we could use the ESD to compensate someone's volunteer salary they work for the city. We didn't ask if we have a paid fire department. There's plenty of cities in the state of Texas who have hired city workers that make fire calls for their city when there's no one available. We were asking if we could use that money, any of that money, to compensate someone to be able to make those calls in the daytime, not to hire them as firefighters. We can hire station employees if we want, if the city wants to hire them. They can sit there and clean the trucks and paint fire hydrants. They don't have to be certified firefighters. If they're a volunteer fireman, the city can let them go to a call.
Right.
There's plenty of places to do that. We're not asking for.
Yeah, Steve, and the statute says, as long as they're paid, whether city funds or ESD funds, as long as they're paid, they gotta be certified.
Not if you're not hiring for a firefighter. If I'm hiring to clean city streets, that's something different.
Well, here's I think what he's getting at. Let's say that the city, not the Pearsall Volunteer Department, says, in order for me to encourage some of my workers to become firefighters, to join the volunteer firefighters, we'll give them a stipend of $3,000, let's say, okay? They'll have to go to training and all that with them, but we'll give them a stipend so that we can encourage the extra duty, right?
And allow them to go to fire.
But that would be paid by the city. Now, would that still be?
And that's what the city of Pleasanton is doing, and they still have to be certified.
There comes a legal issue. Are they working as a city employee or are they working as a firefighter? And there's legal complications if you're paying an employee of the city of Pearsall to volunteer. So, as an attorney for the ESD, I don't believe that we have the legal ability to pay an employee to be a volunteer because it blurs the line of being an employee versus a firefighter. This is really the only issue that's left on this contract, and we conceded a majority of the terms. Yes, sir.
Well, in the past, we had quite a few volunteers in the city, and they're paid by the city for the work they do in the city, not for the work they do in the volunteer fire department. Okay, so there's a fine distinction there, but we're not, even this $3,000 stipend would be paid for the work they do in the city, but
But I think that's a choice made by the city. So if the city agrees, I
But
think this is what they want, is that if there's a fire during city business, and we have a city worker that is in our streets department, and the volunteer fire department are out doing their own jobs and they're miles away, then we can send one of our guys out, but we're paying them, but we're not gonna pay them through ESD money. Is that correct?
right.
But because they're getting paid as a city employee, when they get called to that fire, they're going as a volunteer, but the city has decided to pay them.
No, I understand the distinction you're trying to make with it, but I still think there's legal complications with that distinction. Now, in regards to the contract itself, I mean, and the ESD board has been very willing to work with the city of Pearsall. They've made it clear every meeting that we've had, they want to work with the city of Pearsall, and they've shown that with the concessions they made with every issue within the contract, except for that one that comes down to the certification issue. The ESD is wanting to give the city of Pearsall $100,000 to be able to cover the area that's agreed upon between the fire chiefs, and they want to do that. They want to give you $100,000, but there's certain items within the contract.
Are they willing to pay us for
Are
the
they gonna
past
pay us
services
back?
that we did?
We didn't have a contract at that time.
But we
still
provided the service and they called on us for the services.
There was not a contract in place at that time.
And the people
I'm not-
of Pearsall were taxed.
Well, I can tell you that I've never been presented that item to present to my board or the commissioners. So I have no direction or authority on that matter anyway. I'm just telling you, there's no contract during that period. That, you know, when we're trying to negotiate with the city of Pearsall and nothing was worked out and negotiated. So I really have no direction or authority to even address that issue really. I'm here to address the contract, enter a contract with the city of Pearsall, I hope, and pay the city of Pearsall $100,000 this next year. Other than this one, I think legal issue, that's the certification issue.
I have another point, and really all I'm saying is the suggestion that we should get another attorney that's knowledgeable about ESDs might help a little bit, but the issues that we got here, in other words, we don't hire attorneys to negotiate for us. We can negotiate ourselves. The thing is, on the legal side of it, there's only a few items that we gotta work with, right? And I'm not really sure that a new attorney, other than if he was pretty tough and he was gonna negotiate for us, I don't know that it would help us a whole lot, you know? And I feel like we can, the negotiation issues for us are very, very straightforward, and that is, I want to make sure that our fire department is happy with it, because if they're not, they're volunteers, and then they will quit, and we won't have any volunteers. Okay, so the option is, if we don't have any volunteers, then we're going to have to hire paid staff to do that. Okay, paid fire department to do that. Okay, so we got to make sure that they're involved in the negotiations here, and that they're happy with what we're going to do. Okay. Within reason, I'm saying, if they're also out of line, which I don't think they are so far, in terms of what they're asking for, that, we should listen to them. I think that it's not fair that these guys collected tax money, and have, not paid us for it, regardless of whether we had a contract or not a contract. I mean, you can be pretty hard on it, but they as a board to say, yes, you guys provided the service, we're going to release that money, okay? And if they don't, then we should think of other options that we can have.
Okay. With that being said, I do thank Hector for going to the last meeting in February. I feel, as the mayor, to give it one more shot with hiring an attorney, also with Hector present.
Why do you want me there?
What?
I mean, I negotiated this stuff, I'm doing it.
But I have to
No
negotiate
extra
that.
pay for me, so,
And there's really only me and Hector have really
But they want to
negotiated
pay
this
more.
right. ESD has conceded to all the requests except this one, and there's a statute right on point, so I don't know. You can hire 10 attorneys if you want to, I mean, that's the city's discretion.
My thing is, I really want to be fair to the residents. We've always had a volunteer fire department. I don't think it'll be fair from one minute to the next for our fire department to walk out on these people. If we can show the volunteer fire department, just give them, they've been volunteers for more than 20 years, give them a little bit more time, negotiate one more time with this last one that they have,
and then go from
Let me
there.
explain
So
my
what
concern,
do-
and I'll say nothing else about this, y'all can do what y'all want. Let me just tell you what my concern is. What my concern is. My concern is that we're gonna get more than we can handle as a volunteer fire department. We have a hard time right now covering the city. With the volunteers, everybody has a job, people want got oil field jobs. I'm worried that we're not going to be able to handle calls in the daytime. We're looking for some way to be able to compensate that. If we can't compensate that, then the city's gonna have to find some way to make sure that they have coverage outside of the city limits and these other calls we're taking. 25% of the county is a pretty big area. You're gonna spend a lot of money going out there fighting fires. If we don't make the calls, then the board has us. They're gonna say, y'all should have made the calls, you didn't make it. You know, we're trying to be honest and say that we're struggling with that. Somehow, somewhere, we're gonna have to compensate somebody or somehow get somebody to make calls on the daytime. Plus, my only concern isn't this. My concern is the fact that the city needs to understand that they have to pay all the bills and then be reimbursed by the ESD board. You must set a budget, you must spend your money, and then take it to the board and have them approve the bill. If they do not approve the bill for any reason, you can go back to them and ask them, if at the end they still say no, the city still has to pay the money and you have to provide the service. That's been my whole contention on this contract the whole time. All this other stuff, I can probably not worry about. My contention has been, we have to provide the service whether we get paid $100,000 or not, and you must spend the money. You have to. You don't have a choice. It says in the contract, you'll provide the service whether or not they have the money to pay you or not. In the past, we had a service contract that said, for a percentage of money, a percentage of collections, no matter what that was, 54%, 25%, whatever they brought in, we provide the service, we get that money. That is not how this contract has worked, and that is it's always been, everybody who's been on the board knows that, has always been, my contention is that we have to spend the money, and you may not get that back.
It's the same.
We asked for $25,000 up front, and they said no, that they would give us $25,000 a quarter only after we spent $25,000.
They changed that.
No, it's still the same.
No, they changed it.
If you read the statute, it's the same. You still have to, the orders you're serving is, am I wrong in saying that we still have to spend $25,000?
I could go into on how you're incorrect and all the statements you probably just made just now. All the volunteer fire departments we work with, there's 3 other volunteer fire departments that work with the ESD. They've been providing services for this county since Pearsall has not. In other words, the city of Pearsall has been getting service by the volunteer fire department. The rest of the area has been covered by 3 other volunteer fire departments. If the ESD has to continue to do that, that's what they're going to have to do. And they're willing to do it, if that's what it comes down to. But they want to work with the city of Pearsall. They want to get to a contract. They want to give the city of Pearsall $100,000 to provide the services. And by understanding, the volunteer fire departments are willing to split it evenly. They're all getting $100,000.
But that isn't fair. Because the district, the way it's set up, we've got more taxpayers in the city of Pearsall that pay more taxes into that district than Dilly or more. Yet they're getting an equal amount, which is really not a fair formula. Okay?
I guess if you want the 3 volunteer fire departments, if you want the 3 volunteer fire departments also provide the service to the city of Pearsall, I mean, the ESD, I guess, would have to do that if the volunteer fire department goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be extra funds for the ESD to be able to provide services, not only to the areas outside the city of Pearsall, but if they have to, they would have to be required to cover the city of Pearsall as well. So, it's up to, the ESD wants to work with the city of Pearsall, and they've conceded on every issue, and they want to still continue.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that being said, we have to make a decision. So, is there any motion to negotiate or to leave that as it is? Negotiate.
What do you recommend, Mr. Russo?
My recommendation is to approve that agreement. The only thing that's outstanding is the coverage area that the fire chiefs have to agree to. And also for the city to file a claim with the ESD. They may or may not pay. But the contract as is, those are the revisions we made.
Has the board read the contract since they redid it?
I have not seen it. So,
There's an additional issue that we have to, as a city, we need to concern ourselves, which is we're funding we're funding the fire department right now from our city funds. And in addition to the normal operations, we need to buy equipment. That's why I'm saying, why aren't we being paid for the previous years regardless of the contract since we provided the service? Because we could use some of those funds to buy a fire engine with the ladder that we need, you know? Without a ladder, right now we're at risk for all these hotels that are being built out there.
The item is to approve. That's all you have. That's the only option you have.
So can we,
Table it,
okay, we can do that.
or decline one, I guess. Or approve
Because
it.
if we decline it, then it goes to renegotiation, or does that need to be a motion?
No, the item is to approve. That's the only option you have to approve.
All right,
Table.
okay. I have a motion made by Councilman Alex Hernandez to table the service provider contract with the Frio County Emergency Service District Number 1. Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Erica Alcantara. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. Okay, I am going to go to item C. Discuss and consider ordinance 2014-03-03 to approve the conditional use permit requested by Ms. Gracie Miller to place a 2014 manufactured home water property legally described as being lot 17 and W2 of 18, Block T of the Pearsall Addition located at South Mulberry Street in the city of Pearsall, Frio County, Texas. Becky?
On the conditional use permit for 27 of Imperial County, on February 19, 2014, the last day of response was March the 3rd, 2014. There was no negative response.
Okay. Guys, there was no negative response. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Councilwoman Odila Villarreal, second by Councilman Conrad Carrasco. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. Okay, we are going to go back to new business A. Discuss and consider ordinance 2014-03-01 to approve setting the required amount of surety bond coverage for the city manager, the finance director, and other selected city employees. Mr. Trevino?
I brought this item in the last time, but it was brought in as a resolution, and Hector said that we should do it in the form of an ordinance.
Okay.
So I have now presented it to you in the form of an ordinance, and I've changed some of the amounts of coverage that I had put in the other resolution. And it was based again on some other premiums that we're going to have to be paid on these. So we lowered it a little bit, but it's much higher than it was before, or that's required, particularly for the finance director and himself.
Okay.
So these are the amounts that are on the resolution for all these people here. So
It's in your packet.
we just want to get it. We just want to get it. People bonded because they were
Okay.
not bonded the last couple of years. So.
No, I can wait for this order from 314-03-01.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Conrad Carrasco to approve city ordinance 2014-03-01, seconded by Councilman Abel Nieto. All in favor? All against? Motion passes.
Could I ask you again to see if we could move to the MOU? Let me see, what item is it?
F?
Yes, to F.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to the letter F under new business. Discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-03 to approve a monument of understanding with Johnson Controls to authorize the interim city manager to execute said MOU.
Okay, this is an issue that you guys have had before with another company. It was called Hydro Pro. And at that time you had tabled it, and then you, untable it at the next meeting or the following meeting, and then you table it again indefinitely, or basically no action. So now we've got this company, Johnson Controls, that are basically trying to do a study. I'll let the gentleman here speak in a minute about it. But it has to do with our metering devices in our water and the gas. Okay, the electronic automatic meter reader. So I think they got a good program. I met yesterday with Simon Pena and with our gas department manager, and we were discussing the loss in unaccounted gas, and Simon relayed to me that really the loss of gas is not really through loss in the pipelines as much as it is in the meters, the old meters that we have, and also in the accounting and the meter reading. Those three items basically says account for most of the gas. And in our that number, when I used to be here in 2009, I think the percentage of loss and unaccounted for was around 7.8, 7.3. This year it came up to 17, okay, which is a large number, amount of gas that we're losing. This is an item that we have talked about it even before this time that I was here. We talked about it before when I was city manager in the prior period. And of course, it's always been a large investment. But I think you need to think about these meters as cash registers for us. And some of these meters are pretty old, and they wear out, and even though they might still function, they might not function very well, they might not be reading well. But we got to put our money where our cash registers, because that's where the money comes from. Okay, so particularly with the commercial, the big meters, and then all the old meters. We have a lot of old meters in the city that need to be replaced. So they're offering a plan on how to do it, and I'm going to let them explain it. Mr. Bailey, are you going to explain it again? Mr. Bailey and Joe Lopez is also.
Mayor Rodriguez, Councilmember Mr. P, thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. Basically, what we're requesting is through the memorandum of understanding, it's a no-cost memorandum of understanding. It basically outlines the services that we're going to deliver, the data that we're going to need, and then with the idea that we will bring back a proposal or a report to you of proposed facility improvements and infrastructure improvements to improve the billing, the operational efficiencies of the city. The memorandum of understanding is divided basically into three categories, as Mr. Trevini was saying. The first one is the water meter. We use industry standards to do a loss analysis to determine how much water is being lost either through inaccuracy of meters or through leakage, which is another major component of lost revenue. Water, obviously, we all know, is very critical this day, and so you want to be able to bill for all the water and account for all. And so we'll do a study and analysis to determine what that loss factor is. We'll also do it on the gas meter side, as was being mentioned. We'll do the same analysis on the gas meter to look at the losses and infrastructure, both from meter accuracy and infrastructure. And then the third component of that is to look at also at your building operation efficiency. That's another component that Johnson Controls is actively involved in the efficiency of the building. We'll look at your existing lighting, your water fixtures, your control systems, all those things to determine the opportunity to be able to operate more efficiently, create savings. The purpose of this is to bring back, as I say, a business analysis to you to show what the reality is of what's happening out in the field right now for the water, the gas, and the building. It'll also bring back to you proposed opportunities of how to rectify that situation. The final component of that is if the city decides that it wants to move forward with implementing this program, we can discuss with you a way to bring the funding to also fund this project. And that's one of the things that we at Johnson Controls are very active in, and that is what we call performance contracting. And basically, performance contracting provides guaranteed savings for building operations, guaranteed accuracy on meter reading, so that you're able to account for savings and additional revenue dollars that can pay for the capital improvements that are required. And so our goal is, in the memorandum of understanding, as it stated, is to see if there's an opportunity to create a self-funding capital program that will address your water meters, your gas meters, and building facilities. You're very much in control of the whole process. We'll bring back the business analysis, present that to you. If you are interested in pursuing further, you have a couple of options going forward. You could issue a request for qualifications for people to come in and do this. We're members of Habit World and Interlocal Procurement that we could bring to the table as well. The next thing would be to develop the project. We would actually, to do the detailed engineering, we're working with L&D engineers who are present with us also. They're consulting engineers for this project. And so we would basically develop a project and bring it back to you to show the quantified savings, and the facility improvement measures, and the metering improvement measures, and the leak detection measures that we would propose that would generate that savings and pay for those capital improvements. The council would then decide, again, as a checkpoint, do you go forward or not go forward with a performance contract. And so it's very much of a collaborative effort throughout. You go the full gamut of the process. Tonight, as I say, we're simply starting with just providing you data so that you can determine, if there is an opportunity for you to have additional savings and efficiencies in operations that could potentially self-fund a project going forward. And so that's why we're asking, you to consider approving the no-cost memorandum of understanding to provide that data analysis.
You said at no cost?
No cost.
That's a good thing.
No cost now. I think there's some places out there, like on the water system, that they don't have a water meter. Would it be viable to maybe go ahead and put meters on those like the baseball complex? They use water out there. They don't have a meter. I mean, that would be considered a loss.
Because we need to know how much is
Right,
spent.
exactly.
Even though they're not paying for it,
Exactly.
any business, you're still going to keep inventory.
Yeah.
You got to keep costs.
Right. And so, yes, the process that we go through is to look at, we actually pull meters and test the meters. After we do the business case analysis, this would be the next step, to actually pull the meters, do testing. We also look at every meter to determine if it's right size, because that impacts, obviously the efficiency of the effectiveness of that meter. And then at areas that weren't being metered, those would be a third area.
And you do that at no cost?
We'll do the study.
Okay.
If you decide to move forward, then we will.
Like on the gas system, there should be 2 meters at the gas plant. One city meter and the other one belongs to the gas company. They have a pressure recording meter out there. And I really don't think we have anybody here that knows how to read those in order for them to compare against the city's gas meter. So, that would be...
that would be part of the study.
Right. We would get, the one thing about Johnson Controls is that we have what we call subject matter experts, which are engineers who are subject matter experts for whether it be gas, whether it be water, whether it be building efficiency, or whatever, the solar, thermal, or solar PV, any of those things. We actually have subject matter experts that we can use to bring to this project.
Yeah, the reason for my question is, for the past few years, we have had a consultant, Mr. Simon Peña, that I understand he's very good. But if you look at the overall system, like Mr. Trevino said, we had a loss of, 7%, and now we have a loss of 17%. We have a consultant coming out here, I don't know how often, I don't know how much we're paying him, but it seems that something's not working right.
You probably would have to get the study done too.
Yeah,
We don't think it's on the
yeah, the study will identify, we'll start the process of identifying the loss. And then we'll start looking, as part of that study too, we'll look for, what we perceive as opportunities to correct the matter. The other part about the metering systems that we could propose is we can bring automated metering systems to the table so that you're able to determine leaks very quickly. You don't have to, wait to figure that out down the road after you've lost a considerable amount of water. By tracking the meters and treating those with us, that you'll know very rapidly that you have a leak situation that needs to be addressed.
What's the memory span of the 8 months?
I'm sorry?
Memory span, is that 6 months, 3 months?
Yes.
6 months. 6 months. Accuracy?
Well, that's which one you choose. I mean, so there's several versions, and again, it comes with cost, so depending on where you want to be in that realm.
With the peaking capability?
But
Yes.
yes.
You can have either, ping or full power.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Abel Nieto to approve resolution number 2014-03-03 to approve the memorandum of understanding MOU with Johnson Controls and to authorize the interim city manager to execute said MOU, and second by Councilwoman Erica Gondara. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. At no cost.
Thank you.
For the record.
And just for the record, we have City of Fort Worth, City of El Paso, City of San Antonio. I mean, we do this. This is our core business. So,
I saw you at one of the booths.
yes.
I actually got informed a little bit.
Okay.
And got a free pin. Okay. So would you like me to jump anything else up, Mr. Trujillo? Would you like me to move anything else up?
All I'm saying is that the key issue here is financing. Because I looked at the HydroPro proposal, and I looked at this one. No, eventually when you buy the meters, we gotta pay for
Then
it.
we gotta look at
But we don't expect them to put the meters for free, but we gotta pay for the meters. But the financing with HydroPro, which they had a similar system. As a matter of fact, Mr. Phillips that used to work for Johnson Controls. So,
I know the meters will eventually pay itself.
well, but the financing is that if they find sufficient savings, which I think they will, to cover the cost, then we don't have to go out there and tie up our debt structure. Okay?
Exactly.
They will provide the funding through their lending sources, and the savings will pay that. Okay?
Guaranteed by legislation.
Right. That's under the performance. Huh?
Previous study said 4 years will be paid.
Yeah.
Was that what we guaranteed? Okay.
I don't know if it's been on top 4 years, but,
Yeah.
because,
You look at 5 or 6 years ago.
yeah, because the proposal you guys got was a million something. I think it's gonna be a little bit more than that myself, but, depending on how you amortize it and how you discount those values to really come up with that.
And the other thing we bring to that, Mr. Trevino, is the fact that we are Johnson Controls. We're on the stock exchange. We're $1 billion company. So we have the ability to get very good financing, where smaller companies don't have that. So we can go get that competitively, share that information with the council, and be able to bring that back to you and showing you where we got the rates from.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we're going to go to new business G, discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-04 to authorize the interim city manager to execute the previously approved memorandum of understanding for the school resource officer between the city of Pearsall and the Pearsall Independent School District.
This is basically a renewal that we do every year
The officer.
on the SRO, which is the security resource officer. It's with the school. Hector has reviewed the contract.
Everything good, Hector?
And
Yeah, it was actually approved by the city on September 10th,
Yeah.
2013.
But it wasn't,
It wasn't signed,
it wasn't executed,
yeah.
right?
Okay, do I have a motion? Motion? We have a motion made by Councilwoman Odelia Varial to, resolution number 2014-03-04 to authorize the interim city manager to execute the previously approved memorandum of understanding for the school resource officer between the city of Pearsall and the Pearsall Independent School District. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Erica Gambara. All in favor? All again? Motion passes. I really need to pass it.
Okay, one final jump here. We want to get rid of our.
Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. Let's go to hell, we do.
And this is under the briefings, okay? Basically, what I want to let you know is on the street program that we've got, that after,
I don't see them on here.
it's on the last number 8. It's really not an action item.
He's trying to be nice to
No,
us.
let's have them wait since we waited for our street.
No, wait, we'll
Dinner
wait.
can get cold.
We'll wait.
So, we initially, Robert came down and we went around, and Rick, we went around the streets that had already been done, seal coated, and we weren't very pleased with those. So then we, Robert got together with his other partner, Derek Martin. Yeah, and they're really ex-TxDOT guys. So they came down and reviewed the streets and agreed that some of these streets needed to be reworked. So then they went back to the contractor and negotiated which streets we were going to do. And we got a list of them.
And I have this, I'll just pass it out for your information. But next Monday, they're going to meet again, and we're going to go through the contractors that room the streets, and then we're going to determine what additional work has to be done. And after that, we'll come up with a schedule. And once we come up with a schedule, then I'll submit that to Mr. Trevino, and we can discuss it at the next council meeting. But like I said, we'll be here Monday, have them group some of the additional streets, and take a look at them and see what additional work needs to be done. And this is just a letter notifying them that we do not agree with some of the work that was performed on the streets, the first letter, and that they have exceeded their calendar days, and that they still have to broom the streets and remove the aggregate. That's the first 2 pages. Then the third page is the streets that they have completed and the amount of work that we subtracted from what's been done because we didn't believe or we didn't agree that it was performed properly. We subtracted about $110,000 from their pay, but we still haven't paid them the $400,000 that you're holding on to.
And we also held on to the 100.
Right. So we're still holding back approximately $400,000. And then the last page is the streets that are just incomplete that they didn't even address.
They're still going to do those.
Right. Yeah, they haven't done anything on these streets.
And you did tell me that Garcia Street should be started by tomorrow, right?
The boxes should be arriving. Tomorrow, and they should be starting on Thursday. But we've been told that before, so the boxes will be delivered.
You told you Thursday?
Yeah, you told me Thursday.
Don't get nervous.
I told you Thursday. So if y'all don't mind, by the next council meeting, if you can take a look at these streets and just make sure that
Oh, we will.
that y'all agree with it. And then at the next council meeting, I'll bring you a revised list and schedule of where
I
the
do
work
want
is.
to say that the roads are looking a lot better. I'm very impressed with them. I didn't think I would be, but man.
They'll look a lot better. Once we come back
Don't
and
say that until it's done, because I'm going
they
to
better.
to it.
They better, or else we're not getting what we paid for.
If we can find after this year, and I say we, the city, can find extra money, and during this next budgeting session, we need to start doing the same, putting the hot asphalt on it, on some of these streets to get them eventually done.
What I would
It's
recommend
expensive,
is if you go through and try to address all the streets first with just the seal coat, and then if you have additional money after that,
Then you come back and hot mix the streets, and then you get hot mix. That hot mix is pretty expensive. I mean, it was over $1 million more than just doing it this way the last time. But that would be my recommendation.
Right.
But if it's done right, you'll be satisfied with it.
Well, my point is that we haven't really yet finished the streets.
But
There's a lot of streets that need to be
There's a
done.
lot of streets that need to be addressed, and if you don't address them now, they're just going to get worse, and it's going to cost you that much more money to keep up with
The
them.
other side, the west side.
Especially where a new YMCA is gonna go
Yeah.
up.
Well, that one,
Is that pretty?
we already did the interest going to it.
But they should be starting on Garcia Street this week.
Street, you're still in Garcia Street.
I'm
We
saying,
haven't got the.
No,
yet.
for Thursday.
Thursday.
that's the underground storm sewer.
Street, right?
Have tables, no.
Yeah. So underground storm sewer should be starting this week, and then Monday we're meeting with the contractor again, and after that, we'll get you a schedule.
Okay, but thank you for
Any other
what you've
questions?
done, and hopefully it goes a little bit faster.
And they'll look better. Like I said, once again, we're gonna wait till it warms up, and then we'll address them.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Okay. Okay. We're ready to go to item 6B. What I want to do on that is table that item.
No action.
Oh, no action.
Okay, we're just gonna
Okay.
go to action.
So don't table it, just no action, because the Fairview, it turns out that it was not really a proper name for the street, even though they had it on the plat. The plat
It was
had-
on the street with grass, right? Because they made up that street, because it wasn't on the street, right?
Well, it was a city, it is.
Can I name it?
It is original city, it's original city street. It was given to us in 1931 for $5. But it hasn't been used. I mean, Shorty for years used it as, with trucks and everything in there, but never really used it as a thoroughfare.
Because Shorty had the building in the front, right?
Well, he owned the whole property, but then he sold it to,
So can we name it?
Black
Council?
Hole. What, the street? No, we don't want to even name it. We would just want to take that name off and get
I
up.
want to do something.
But anyways, go ahead and no action.
Okay. So do I read?
Then you can go on down the.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and no action. On B, no action, okay. Is that legally correct, Mr. Romano? Do I need to read it out?
They have to go.
Do we need to vote?
No.
No,
You can read the item, but we're not taking any action.
just no action.
No action.
No action on ordinance 2014-03-02 to close, vacate, and abandon a portion of Fairview Avenue located southwesterly and continuously to South Oak Street, and to authorize the, what is that word?
Okay.
Of a portion of Fairview Avenue by special warranty deed, and authorizing the mayor to sign related documents. The street has not been used as a public thoroughfare for more than 40 years. Is not necessary as public thoroughfare, as no other public use. Okay. So now we're going to go to D. Discuss- D, right? Okay. Discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-01, approving a service agreement with the Cooler and
Kohler.
Incorporated,
And San Antonio.
CHA Company. Antonio, is that right? Antonio?
Good job, good job.
I'm not bilingual.
Hola, Antonio.
Okay, continue general operational and regulatory conflict with consulting service Simon Peña, and authorize the interim city manager to execute the service agreement.
In your packet, I included their letter and also their short agreement, which we've done in the past. The only thing that changed in this agreement from the past was really his rate. His rate has gone up because he mostly does most of the work for us, not the other partners. Usually it's just Simon. So his rate went up to 225, I think, because he's now a front partner in the front. but it was 190 before.
But this is the one that was doing the,
Yeah, he does all the gas and the gas consulting. As a matter of fact, we're in the middle of doing some reports that need to be done for the Railroad Commission. And he's keeping us pretty straight on what needs to be done.
Wasn't that done in-house?
What?
Was the reporting to the Railroad Commission?
Yes, but in some cases where the railroad has actually
Violations.
the
The violations,
yeah.
the wear of the
Yeah.
Well, we used to go ahead and answer violations and this and that. How long have we had Mr. Peña as a consultant?
2 years, 3 years?
5 years?
Maybe
Right.
yeah.
He was here before, around the.
I had him before then, but I had him even before then.
Okay, but the only reason is, you said the gas loss was 7% and now it's 15, and I don't think that it's working out. I mean,
Well,
you have months where you can see that actually, that you can say, you know what, he came in, he's doing a consultant, we're doing better.
well, I'll tell you an answer to that.
Okay.
Because he has mentioned it to me and to other city managers about some adjustments that we should make
Okay,
on staff.
okay. And have they been?
And the city managers have not made it.
Okay.
Okay? So you can't blame him because he's on that
No,
part to
I
say,
know
hey,
exactly.
you know,
I know
you guys
exactly-
need to do these
I know
things.
exactly what you're saying.
Right?
So, are you gonna do
And
any changes on the staff?
well, the one I want
Are
to
you
start.
gonna wait until something?
No, the one I started with, which I already brought to you, is the public works director. Because I need somebody at the top to start the direction of the,
Yes, sir.
of the company, okay? And then once we get the top person in there, that person is then going to start,
The only thing is,
evaluating the people.
we've been talking about getting the director of public works for a while now.
Right.
Maybe over a year. And we're still at, to me, my opinion, we're still at the same.
Well, you left when I was here.
I know.
And
I know exactly.
and since I left, previous city managers did not hire anybody there.
Yeah.
Now, you could have brought it up at the budget meetings, when you had budget meetings, and say, why aren't you funding this position? Because it's critical.
It was being funded, it's just that nobody has ever
Did you?
hired.
I don't think we had it in the budget.
It wasn't in the budget, well, I know it's not in this year.
And
And
it hasn't been on
I
there.
don't, if it was, it wasn't, nobody was hired.
Right,
I think
exactly.
so for sure.
I know some of the council members here know that we did talk about it, and it was recommended, and it was approved, even the salary, even.
Well, did you ask the previous city manager why he didn't fill it?
I think we just approved it this last budget, didn't we?
Well, yeah, we approved this one in the middle, not in the regular budget. I brought that item after the budget was approved.
I just think that there has to be some changes to improve the gas system, because, I mean, it seems that it's going downhill. I mean, and the gas system is something that you don't, you need somebody responsible.
We have gone over and over with the meters not being accurate.
Well, let me tell you some of what I think is some of the gains that we made. They just did a gas study, right? And what was the item? How many they found? Five items.
5 items,
5 leaks.
okay. Yeah, but what about the?
Well, before we had a whole bunch more than that.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about the deep, we're talking about the overall gas system.
But I'm
I
saying,
mean, why is the railroad commission still coming down on the city with their,
well, if you want me to speak the truth, I'll tell you the truth.
Okay.
This is ills that go back 10 years or more, okay? That those things should have been done 10 years ago.
Okay, but they haven't been done.
But let me tell you what. Well, if you let me speak, I'll tell you. Okay.
I'm talking about today, I mean, when are we gonna get started on it?
Okay. Well, all I can tell you is
I
I'm
mean,
doing what I
you can
can.
go back 10, 15, 20 years, and, you know.
But you were here then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, and I'm not blaming you, but I'll tell you what, the problems have been with the city in the past, and that is budgeting. In the old days, before we started getting money rich with the oil money, if you remember, we barely make budgets, and particularly in the gas and oil, in the gas and the water. So what would happen was the little money we made there, we transferred the money out to the general fund, transfers out. So that left no money for maintenance. And the reason that the councils did that before was because they did not want to increase the taxes on the general fund. Okay? So what they did, in order for it to balance, and this is not uncommon, many of the small cities that have problems do that, is they'll take money out of the utilities and move it over to the general fund, which leaves very little maintenance money, and what you end up doing is never really maintaining the system the way it's supposed to be maintained. Okay?
So that's the reason that we're having, for example, repeat violations?
Probably because some of those violations are not just because we didn't do something, because some lines that are there they're violated because they're old. Robert can tell you that.
The reason that you keep on, the violations continue because you're not addressing the issues that they bring up.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be replacing 3,000 feet of pipe a year. You're supposed to go and I think you had a high excavator going to come in and find the crossings and locate the casing. That has been on a violation for the past.
And I'm getting that.
That's the reason I'm asking him.
And I'm getting that done.
He's saying 10 years ago, I'm talking about.
But I'm getting that done now because I can't account for all the other city managers, but I can account for it now. We're getting it done. I just approved to go and try to find those lines. Now the other one has to do with the pressure on a pipe, which we need to test. And I got a bill, I got a proposal right now of $66,000 to test that line.
To test the line?
To test the line. Right? 66,000. Now we think it's high, and I'm going to try to either
What lines are you talking about?
from
From a gas plant all the way to about 800 feet of height.
and
They
that
have no records of a pressure test
That's
that
right.
have been performed on it. So the railroad commission citing us that.
they cited us for not having.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but those were old records that should have been in the file. They're talking about the sleeve that's supposed to be underneath the railroad, and we don't have any files.
As a matter of fact, there's some pipe at the warehouse, 6-inch poly pipe that was for that night. But the only reason we didn't put it in is because they started accumulating trash out there and then, limbs, and they started burning out there. And, it's not safe to light a fire.
But anyways,
Okay, whatever. Don't just start questioning.
I think he's doing a pretty good job, Mr. Simon Peña, but
No,
as time goes on, we're going to try to reduce his use because obviously we should. Yeah.
So, what's the charge on Mr. Peña? Or how often does he come down? I mean, what?
Usually about once a month or every 2 weeks or another month.
Mr. Robert, do you know how much he's actually charging the city every time he comes down? I'm just curious.
How much you paid it?
Right.
I couldn't answer that offhand. I'd have to look it up.
Well, whatever rate he's at, he was at $195 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my concern, that he comes down. I know he's a good consultant. He used to work with the railroad commission, so he knows it's stuff. My concern is, there hasn't been much of a change.
Well, I'm hoping that this meter thing that we're going to be doing is going to be a major change that we're going to do.
So.
And
But that's still not going to help you replace.
no, we still got to replace
You
the
see
pipe.
that explosion in New York?
We still got to replace the pipe. So that's still a program that we're working on to try to continue to do that.
It's really just a city issue, not replacing the pipe they're supposed to.
Right.
Yes.
And I got a list of that, and we've already done 2 sections, and we're ready to set up a project for the gas department to start giving me a timeline and the cost of what it's going to take to finish those lines. So, and we do have budgeted amounts for that.
Right.
We budgeted $300,000 for that.
Yeah, I think the contractors are putting in the gas line, they took quite a bit of money.
We weren't very pleased with the work they did,
Well-
but it wasn't really all their fault. Part of it was our system. What happened was they were, having to drill more holes in the concrete
Yeah, there was a lot of
because of different size of pipes that they were going, and it's bad.
So do you want to do people? I think we should table it, maybe find out how much we got paid. Find out when we started it. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Alex Hernandez for resolution number 2014-03-01, approving a service agreement with Cooler and Colantino, ACH company for continuing general, operational, and regulatory compliance consulting services with Simon Peña, and to authorize the interim city manager to execute the service agreement. Motion made by Alex Hernandez. Do you have a second? Second by Comrade Carrasco. All in favor? Okay.
Yes, to approve. To approve. Oh, you said to approve?
No, to table it.
Oh, to table it?
To table.
So what do you expect after the table?
Well, we expect to maybe see how much we're actually paying them on a monthly basis or weekly basis, you know.
See a report?
Right. Because I'd like to see some results for the money that we're paying.
Well, I can also bring him to the council meeting.
That'd be great. That would be great.
Yes, we are.
Table, yeah, I meant,
That way, we have any questions, we can direct them to him. No problem.
okay, I said approved.
Yeah.
But the motion was for table. Did you still want to second the table?
I second the table.
Okay, let me clarify that. We have a motion made by Alex Hernandez to table resolution number 2014-03-01, to table this, and then seconded by Councilman Abel Nieto. All in favor?
Aye.
All again? Okay, the motion passed. We're going to go to new business. Under 6E, discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-02 to approve the purchase of six new trucks through the buy board from Grande Ford. Seis, nuevo.
You saw the list of trucks that were back there. My guys went over to San Antonio and looked at them, but I think we're going to table that, Mr.
On the pickups?
Yeah, because you said that Grande Ford did not qualify
Well, yeah,
in the Bible.
they were not a member of the Bible, even though I had been talking to him for a week. He didn't mention that until
Oh, lovely.
Thursday.
So-
Friday of last week. When I got back to him, I said on your proposal, you need to reference your Bible number, and then he said he can have it.
So
He's upset.
they only reviewed that effort.
research and
So what we have to do is go back out and use probably the previous one that we used, which was Caldwell Ford.
Country.
Yeah. And they are on the Bible, so we want to have to avoid to bid, so we'll.
They were actually a little less than Grande Ford, but Grande Ford, they would deliver here, whereas
We have to go
Caldwell
out
was
there.
FOB Buffalo, Texas, which was north of. So for that reason, we were going with Grande Ford, but not, we've gone to get them before. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have the pickups all lined up. The purchase of the pickups.
Yeah. No action. And by,
No action will be.
yeah, and by the way, those trucks that you budgeted during the
Yeah, we remember.
budget.
They haven't got them.
Okay, we're gonna go to six new business I, public hearing, we're gonna open it. We already passed that, sir. That's
Yeah.
what we got. Okay, we're gonna open, do I have a motion to open the public hearing for?
Motion. You don't need a motion, you can just open it.
It's open, okay.
And the time.
Public hearing has been opened at 8:25 p.m. Okay.
Go ahead and read it.
Okay, an amendment to the traffic ordinance whereby East San Antonio Street between South Walnut Street and South Pecan Street shall be designated as a one-way street from South Pecan Street to South Walnut Street, directing that all traffic proceed westward.
We've had this item on here the third, this is the third time. The first time it was going this way, right? Now they want to go the other way, right?
Let's just close it.
Okay. That's what the public hearing is about. I don't know if anybody's here to talk about the thing, but Hector brought this to our attention that,
Is this still from the first study that we're doing, or?
yeah, the study has been done, but it was a one-way going east, and then you came back and you tabled it, or you know what you do.
May it was going east, and then August was going west.
Yeah. And it didn't get approved, yeah.
He didn't get signed.
So we're bringing it back. So basically, now they want to go west, right? Mostly
I think
because
we changed it because of the funerals, leaving the church.
yes,
Oh,
it was
Yeah, that's why they
because
changed
the
it.
church asked to see if we could change that.
Yeah,
And they had their handicaps already.
yeah, the Boy Scouts had done the handicap.
And what that's
I think
gonna
we did the same thing with the church in front of, no, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
so what's gonna happen there is if you approve it, then we'll have to remark the parking spots because right now they're like this and like that. And then put new stop signs, one-way stop signs.
The one that's had fun would be, that would be great from the courthouse, but the courthouse would be wrong, but the church would be okay.
Yeah,
They can be from west.
yeah. But we might as well paint them all.
So, we'll close the public hearing at 8:27 p.m. We're going to go to 6, new business J, discuss and consider ordinance 2014-03-04 to approve amending the traffic ordinance whereby East San Antonio Street between South Walnut Street and South Pecan Street shall be designated as a one-way street from South Pecan Street to South Walnut Street, directing that all traffic proceed westward.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Abel Nieto, seconded by Councilman Maggie Aiza. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. Okay, we're going to go to K, new business, discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-06 to authorize the interim city manager to execute a lease with Aqua for 2 30-yard, is it yard or yard?
30 yards.
The 30-yard dewatering sludge filtration boxes for use at our sewer plant.
I provided you with their letter of agreement there. They're going to charge us $2,000 per bin, which would be $4,000. It includes the pumps and what do you call it? The stuff that puts it in there. The polymer.
It doesn't include the, I didn't see the polymer on there. The polymer pump,
It's probably over the tank.
Yeah,
The tank.
it's there.
I saw it in the back, it's got $1,000 or $900 for a 50-gallon barrel of polymer.
Or it doesn't include the polymer.
Oh, you're talking about the polymer itself? No, we'll have to buy that, but
But the pump.
the pump and all
The mixing tank.
the mixing tank. We'll have to run electricity there. We're going to put it between the beds where the cement is. And we're going to put the roll-offs in there and they're going to drain the
Do
water.
you have any idea how much polymer is going to be used per?
For 6 months?
No. I'm talking about per bed or.
It's not a bed, it's a roll-up.
Well, on that roll-off.
It's a roll-off.
How much polymer is going to be used?
I can't remember. I didn't see the proposal, but I've used it
It's
enough.
going to be $4,000 for the 2 containers,
It's gonna
plus
be-
the polymer, which is close to $1,000
And then
back.
you're gonna have to dispose
We have
of the
to
stuff.
haul them off too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be expensive,
It is.
but it has to be done. I mean, you're familiar with the plant, it's just,
Yeah.
the solids just keep on building up.
You just have to get it all out? or-
If you don't get rid of the solids, then you're gonna start receiving violations from the TC.
We still are considering buying these.
Yes.
But right now, because of the quirks in the grant, that we have to get to. It's best for us to get started right now, do it 6 months, have an option to buy it, and they'll apply 25% of the amounts that we pay.
Robert, like on those bins, is the water going to go to the drying beds?
Yes?
Yes, I believe you have it set up inside the dry bin,
Yes.
right on the
Yes.
concrete strip.
Yes.
The only thing is, what happens after a while when you're using the polymer to dry the sludge to the beds? Does it
What's
seal?
coming out of the bottom is just, there's no polymer in it, it's just, after a while.
It won't seal the bed. Can you find out those, please?
Yeah, I mean, I've installed those in other places. Mr. Torino's the one that looked this up, but I have recommended it.
These people did the divine plan. And,
But I'll look into it, but I'm positive that.
I understand that.
What happens is when you put the polymer on the bed itself, that's when it starts clogging up. But this is inside the container.
But it's still the water will go to the bed.
Yes. But the polymer gets stuck in the fabric.
Should get stuck.
No, we put them in actually 3 or 4 different places. They work pretty good.
and that was one of the solutions that I talked to you about that we needed to do in order for us to get that tank down.
What happened to just a question, the beds, they're not working or?
No, we're still using them. They're still putting stuff out there. If you go out
They're
there,
not be working, but we're using it.
but the stuff wasn't drying fast enough.
But now, one, it's not drying fast enough, and then 2, right now, you have so much sludge in there that you can't even keep up with it with the drying beds. That's why you need another system in order to try to do it.
We still gonna continue with the other drying beds.
Yeah.
We're gonna put those 2 in the first 2 beds, and then we're gonna continue putting stuff in the other beds, but we're gonna try to.
One more question, what's the reason for that sludge not to be drying? You say it's not drying fast enough.
And they're dry.
I mean, it's not because of the rain, because we haven't had a good rain in a while. There's no shade out there.
The sun has not come up.
It hasn't been hot enough.
It's getting hot, today it was hot.
But the ultimate plan is for us to buy those boxes through the USDA.
Through the grant.
Yeah.
So they have the grant payment.
Okay.
But we can't release those money
For
for a
90%.
while until we get to the 90%, which, so lease them for right now and then.
Have we fixed the clarifier? Has the clarifier been repaired?
We're waiting to get to the 90% with the contract.
We already got the clarifiers and we got most of the
All the equipment's in.
That might be one of the reasons the plant is overloaded,
Why is that?
because of the clarifier.
That's one, but it's just, they're not wasting to the drying bed, so. I think this will resolve the portion of it.
For a while.
I'm looking at solutions, so that's my solution.
Alex keeps on putting me in the spot.
We never see you, so we just want to ask you all these questions. You get excited.
No, he wants me to say something.
No, I understand. It's the same,
Still beans.
Okay.
I need a motion.
I have a motion on the floor made by Comrade Carrasco to approve resolution number 2014-03-06. Do I have a second? Second made by Abel Nieto. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going to go to 6, new business. L, discuss and consider resolution number 2014-03-07 to approve recommendations from the interim city manager to remove from the planning and zoning board Ms. Dorothy Llamas due to excessive absences in accordance with section 10 of the city policy and procedures for boards and commissions, and to appoint Ms. Alamar Grander to fill the vacancy created by the removal of Mrs. Llamas and Ms. Belinda Gonzalez to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Ms. Francine Gash.
What we have here is a board that has not been meeting because they can't meet quorum. And as you know, you got a zoning thing here that didn't even go to the planning and zoning commission.
Because they didn't have quorum.
They didn't have quorum. So we need to get people that show up and particularly the planning and zoning. They reported to me that these people were not showing up. I've got a list here of how many misses they had. Ms. Yama, Francie just resigned. Every board member right now, except for these two that you're going to appoint, their terms have already expired. So we need to bring back Mr. Sindon to renew his position at the next meeting, and then we need to find one more or two.
I think they're all need to be,
Oh yeah, we need to renew Hope and
If you win, can.
Oh, if you win.
we have Mr. Martinez is on the board. Mando. Martinez. He's on that board, but he's also been missing. I just didn't put him on because we didn't have a replacement. And since we can hold over, right, and they can hold over, I want to keep him on there until we decide if he's going to show up or not. And he's also running for the city council, so whatever. But these are the two right now that we got for sure.
I'd like to approve the resolution number 2014-0307.
Okay, do I have a second? We have a motion made by Councilman Conrad Orozco to approve resolution number 2014-03-07, seconded by Councilman Abel Nieto. All in favor? All against? Okay, motion passes.
So we got an executive session, right?
Now we will. Okay. We don't, no motion for executive.
You gotta name the time we want to do it.
We'll be going into executive session at 8:36 p.m.
And under the section?
Under section, you gotta name the section.
551-071.
And the next one is 55107. On the next page.